this function, like this mission function, is actually a plugin function, so you don't need to go to the triggers inside the map. You just click on the maps, you click on the plugin menus icon right here, and before you actually set up the mission or the storyline for the NPC, you must first create the NPC character. So here I already have the NPC character, so make sure you have the character first, and then what you want to do is you go down to the storyline right here. Then you click on add, you click on create new storyline. Alright, so click on the plus sign, and then you have this menu right here where you start creating your storyline or mission, whatever you want. So first you need to create a name for the storyline. The name will be the first thing that will be displayed when you talk to the NPC character. So let's say, hi, how are you? So this will be the first line the player will see when try talking to your NPC character. You can set the icon to one of these icons only, just to make it easier for you to remember which storyline is which. So you can change the icon, and then you can set up the condition. The condition is like if you want to have the conversation, you can set up the condition, like if it's nighttime, or is it the exact time that you set up, like only in that time zone will the NPC start talking with the player, or the player need to have a certain items on their like in their inventory in order to talk to the NPC. But normally you don't need to set this up, but for like RPG maps, things like that nature, you definitely want to use this function to its maximum like potential. Alright, so now you have to set up the target first. The target is the NPC character that you want the storyline to be displayed. So let's say I want to set this up with one of my NPC right here. So let's say this waiter Soma. So if I click on this, the first thing the player will see is, hi, how are you? So the NPC will say, hi, how are you? And when the player click on that sentence, we will start a dialogue. So this is where you create dialogue. So after hi, how are you, you want to say something like, for example, how can I help you today? Let's say the NPC say this after the player click on the hi, how are you conversation, and then you can provide the player with some answer. You have a total of 4 different choice here. So for example, the player can say nothing much. Oh wait, I typed it wrong. Hold on, nothing much. Let's say the player can say this, or the player can say let's say I'm looking for a job. For example, I'm looking for a job. Or the player can say something like I just want to see you. So as you can see, you can set up multiple answers for the dialogue, and for each answer you can set up what will happen next. So let's say if the player select nothing much, then the dialogue will the dialogue will end. So you want to click on end dialogue. Okay, so after the player select nothing much, the conversation will end. Nothing will happen next. Alright, so let's say the player answer, I'm looking for a job. Oh wait, I mistyped it, but whatever. Then you want to continue the conversation, so you will click on the continue dialogue. Alright, so just leave it there. For for a third answer, I just want to see you. You can also pick continue dialogue. Okay, so if the player answer 2 and 3, the dialogue will keep going. So now you want to create the next dialogue for the conversation. So let's say is there anything I can do to help? Alright, so now after the player answer these two reply, they will get to this dialogue. And now you can set up like more answer. For example, can I have a drink please? So just for example, okay, why I'm using caps? Sorry, hold on. Can I have a drink please? Alright, there we go. So now, for example, if the player answer this, you want to create a mission. So now, how to create a mission? You want to create an accept task. Alright, so now you can set up the task for this answer. So you click on this button right here, you rename the task name, get a drink for example. Then you want to set up the task. So you can select the task as defeat creature or deliver item. So there's only two task category. Defeat creature symbol. When you defeat a certain type or a certain number of creature, you finish the mission. Deliver items, which means you have to get that certain items, collect enough the amount of that items, or actually get the item to someone or some NPC to actually complete the mission. So for example, as you click on defeat creature, you have to choose what creature the player should defeat. Like for example, the penguin, how many of that creature the player should defeat. And then you can set up the task reward, which means what the player will get after completing the task. So let's say for example, the player will get where's the goal? Oh wait, let's just say for example, the player will get some carrots by defeating some penguin. I know it makes no sense, but this is just an example. It doesn't have to make sense, okay? Alright, so also the player will get some EXP. As I already said, the EXP means experience. You can set the experience to whatever you want. It can range from 0 to 999. I have no idea why MediaWorld don't put it at 1000, but I guess this is the limit you can set up for a mission. So maximum is 999 EXP. Alright, so now we have the task setup. You can also set the dialogue for task accepted, which means if you haven't completed the mission, what the NPC will say. If you try to talk to the NPC again but you have not completed the mission, what will that NPC say? So let's say for this example, let's say the NPC will say let's say I'm waiting, which means like he's waiting for the mission to be complete. And the answer you can also set up like just like the dialogue. You can set up different answer and different path for the conversation. Alright, so confirm. Alright, so the last part is this setting. Alright, so this one required for task delivery. So this one is this one means that you have to have a certain object to actually claim the reward of the mission after completing it. I don't usually use this one, so I'm not sure if there's different ways you can do it, but like you should select an object and the player need to own that object in order to claim the reward of the task. Alright, so actually wait, hold on, there's something else. Okay, so loop test. Okay, so this is that. We also have loop test. Normally if you set up a task, the player do it and it will disappear, like it will not be available to do again. But if you want to create like tasks that can be do over and over again, you should turn this on. It will loop the task. Whenever the player complete it, the task will be reset and they can do it again. For the restaurant maps, you definitely want to turn this on as well to make it a loop test. Alright, so a lot of players can do the test again and again so they can get more money to get the food they want. Alright, so enable task receive. So this one right here, I believe if you turn this off, wait, let me just remember. So this setting right here, so there will be two way that the task can end. One way, if you turn this off, I believe that as soon as you complete the task, the reward will be sent to you directly. But if you no wait, actually if you turn it on, the task will be reward to you directly. But if you turn this off, you have to go back to the NPC, talk to the NPC to actually claim the rewards. So maybe if you make an RPG maps, you want the player to actually go back to the NPC who give them the mission. You should turn this off. Normally you turn this on, so as soon as the player complete the mission, they will get the reward. They don't have to go all the way back to the NPC, because in the rest of the map sometimes the NPC have already gone. So yeah, but you can also do the go back to the NPC things just to make the gameplay more challenging, so the player have to run back and forward just to trying to get the mission complete on time so they get a reward. Alright, so after you complete all of these, you click confirm. Make sure everything is ready. After everything is ready, you just need save and return. Then you just add the plugin into your maps. Alright, so again, I will show you what it looks like when you complete the mission dialogue. So once an NPC appear, where is it? Where is my NPC? Okay, where is the... Alright, so I don't think I have enough time to show you guys. It's only 10 seconds. So as you can see, we have tasks. Okay, I set the timer too quick. Alright, where's the next character? Okay, again you can claim task. Oh, come on. Anyway, you get the point. You set everything up, and you should get this task right here, just like that. You can claim the task, and then you can go do the task, and then you get reward for it. So that is how the plugin function for mission and storyline for NPC work. So now you know how to do it. You can definitely do some very cool RPG function with your NPC character in your map. So yeah, so make sure you name your story. Don't do this like me. So I always use the same names. Definitely use different names and different icons just to know which one is which. I'm just lazy that I use the same name over and over again, which I don't even know which one is which now. So yeah, that's not good. Okay, this would be the tutorial for the triggers, the hardest triggers in the restaurant simulation maps. You guys should definitely take notes on this. Alright, so let's just show you guys what we are going through today. The main triggers of today will be this one, and this one. So all of these is actually just a copy of this trigger. So we have 3 main triggers and we have a bunch of copies. I will also explain to you why we have a bunch of copies and how many copies do you need for your restaurant maps. Alright, so to begin with, let's actually create a new trigger set, because this one is so hard that I don't want to use the old tutorial set to show you guys. This will be tutorial 2. Alright, so first I will explain to you what this trigger does. So as you already seen the example that I show when I open the maps, the triggers will allow you to swarm a new NPC every certain amount of time. in a random location. So a random NPC in a random location every 10 second, every 30 second, like it whatever the rotation of time that you want to set up to, you can do it. So okay, so that is what the trigger is for. And to begin with, you have to set up the timer for this rotation. So this will be the trigger that set up the timer for the rotation. Every 10 seconds there will be new NPC, or every 30 seconds, whatever amount of time you want it to be. So this trigger is like this. So let's first do this trigger first, and I will explain to you more of how the three triggers connect together. Alright, so before you actually do this trigger, you actually want to create a variable. Alright, so this is the hard part. If you haven't know what a variable is, you should look right down here. You will see the variable library, and a variable is like a small part. It's like an element inside of a trigger. So when you create a variable, you create a part of a trigger that you can use later on. Okay, so just understand it like that. So before you start this trigger, you want to create a variable. So you click on the variable library button right down here. I know like a lot of you guys haven't even know this function exists. Like I myself rarely use this variable library, but in this case we do need to use this function. So get ready to take notes, because it's gonna be a lot more confusing if you haven't understand what is going on yet. So after you click on variable library, you want to create a variable. I already create two variables right here, but if you haven't created any variable, it will show a blank space here. So what you want to do, you want to create a global variable. The difference between global variable and private variable, I will not explain too much about this yet, because we don't actually need to understand it in this tutorial. But maybe if there is a more advanced function trigger in the future, I will explain to you in more detail why there's two different variable type. So in this trigger we only use global variables, so you just need to focus on this side. You click on new variable. So there's a lot of subtype of a variable. So in this case, you want to first create a time variable. So you click on the variable type, you pick the timer one. So this one is a time variable. Now you name it. You name it to something that you can actually remember and recognize it when you set the trigger up. So in this case, I rename it to time change, I believe. So like for example, you set this to time change, and then you just click confirm. You don't need to mess anything with this. Yes, so confirm, and then you will have a variable like this. So the name of the variable that I set is NPC change. So this timer will allow the NPC to change every time it count down. So that is the first variable that we have. So after you create the variable, you can now turn the variable library off, just like this. So you turn this off like this, and then you create the first trigger. The first trigger will be when the game is created, which is right here in the game logic. And then you go to action, you select the timer. Where is it? Timer and run countdown timer. Yes, this is the one you want to pick. So you go to timer, you select the run countdown timer. Now you click on this red timer icon here. You want to select the variable you just created, the NPC change. and then you click on the countdown. You want to set the timer to how long you want a new NPC to appear. So let's say 30 seconds, you put in 30. Alright, so repeat timer as true. You want to set this as true. True means that the timer will continue to count down after it count down once. If you click on false, it will stop countdown after once. So definitely set this as true, okay? So you done one triggers, the first trigger in this whole function. Alright, so let's get back to the trigger up here, and I will show you the second trigger right now. The second trigger right here. The second trigger is when the timer actually change. As you can see here, when the timer change, what happened? When the timer change and we have a condition right here, the action is that a random NPC will appear in a random position. Wait, hold on. Set a NPC. No, okay. Okay, this part is confusing, so I was trying to explain it to you in the most understandable way. Okay, so when the timer change and you have this condition is hold on, let's just go step by step here. So first, when the timer change, you want to find that in here. Wait, no, when the timer change right here. Wait, no, not that one. You want design timer change, this one. Okay, so you select that one, you select the timer variable you already created, and then for condition you want to set the you want to go to the where is it? Machine play status. No, it's not in here. Item block game, is it? Wait, hold on. In-game time. Determine crafting, no. Value comparison, where is it? Random value comparison. Absolute value. Okay, so you need to click on the absolute value. Alright, so the condition, as you can see up here, is when the timer is equal to 1, and this timer is also actually the timer variable that you set up. So now how you want to do that is that you click on the absolute value, you click on function library, you go, wait, where is it? The timer, here, you click on timer time in the general tab right here, and now you select the NPC change, which is the timer variable that you set up. Equal to, you need to type in 1. Okay, so just note it down and I will explain why you need to have this condition. Okay, so when the game is created, the procedure is when the game is created, then the timer that you create, the variable timer will start countdown from 30. So it will start like 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, just like that. So it will start counting down. And this second trigger is when that timer change. And when that timer reach to 1, which means it's reached to the final countdown before it reset the countdown to 30 again. So like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So when it reach 1, this trigger will be activated. So this is the event and the condition you need to activate the trigger when the timer change. Like it count down to 1, this trigger will activate, okay? So that is why we have this condition. You can set equal to 0. I believe that it still work, but like the triggers will be delayed a bit, so I recommend you set it as 1. Like when the countdown reach 1, the trigger will take action. So now for the action of this trigger, there will be a lot of things going on here. Alright, so for the action of this trigger, we have first we have to set this variable to a random number. Okay, so before I explain to you what this is, you have to create a second variable. Okay, just stay with me. We only have two variables in this trigger. Don't worry too much. We click on the variable library again. As you can see, we have a timer variable, which I already showed you. We also have a value variable. So this is what you want to create. So just like the timer variable, you want to click on new variable. You click on type. You select the value type right here. You name it something like this, random NBC. Just like this, random NBC, just to remember what it is. And then you just confirm. You don't need to set anything else. And then you will have a variable like this. And then you are ready to set up the action for this trigger. Okay, so set that variable as a random number between 1 and 9. Okay, so what is this action? Okay, so why is it between 1 and 9? Okay, so to explain this to you, let me first ask you, how many customer, how many NBC, like the customer NBC, do you want to have in your restaurant maps? If you want just one, then you don't need to set up this trigger, to be honest, because if it's only one character, every time it will be the same character will appear, right? So let's say you have two random NBC, then you will set this random number between 1 and 2. You understand, right? You know the range of this. It depends on how many NBC character that have mission you have in your maps. So if you have 3 NBC, you will set this to 1 to 3. You have 4, you set 1 and 4. Okay, because I have a total of 9 NBC character with mission storyline in my map, so I set this to 1 and 9. Understandable? Okay, so if you have like 5, you will set 1 and 5. If you have more, you have 10, you will set 1 and 10. If you have even more, 12, set 1 and 12. Is that easy? Okay, so that is what the first action do. Actually no, I haven't tell you what it does yet. So it set the variable you just create to a random number between 1 and 9, or 1 and 3, or 1 and 2. Depends on how many NBC you have in your maps. So the random number can be anything between 1 and 9, like 2, 3, 4, 5, even 1 and 9 themselves can be a random number in this trigger. So how do you set up this action? So let's go back down here so I can show you. Okay, so first you want to select assign. You want to select assign, and then you want to select value setup right here. Alright, so you want to select value. You want to select a new variable you just create, the random NBC variable. Click on it and you select this. You select function library. You go to math and you go to random number. Alright, so then you set up the range of it. Depends on how many NBC you have in your map. So in this case I have 9 NBC, so I will set this to 1 and 9. Alright, so this is how the first action of the trigger should looks like. Alright, just like this. Alright, so far I think I explained very detailed and very easy for you guys to understand, like these two parts so far. The rest of this trigger will be hard to understand, but I can guarantee you it will be so easy to understand after you understand it. So yeah, let's see. We already did the random number already. So now what we want to do is this second action. Okay, so remove random creature in creature set. I will show you what this is. Alright, so this action, it just basically remove all of the creature in the region you have selected. And why do we have this action? Because when you run the trigger, you create a character like the NPC, right? And then after time ran out, you want to erase that NPC before create the new NPC. So you have this action. This action is to remove all of the NPC in the region that you select before create a new random NPC in a random position. Okay, so because the NPC will appear randomly in the space you select, so you won't know where the NPC will appear. That is why you need to remove all of the creature in the region. So as I already showed you before in the parkour creating class, you select the tool mode with F3 right here, and you just select a region like this. You just select the region with the blue line, and after you finish create a region, you can check it by pressing the B button right here. You see the region here. You can rename the region to make it easier to know what you are doing. Alright, so after you create the region, so this is the whole region that the NPC will appear and disappear. Alright, so after that you can set up the action. So the second action right here will be you go to creature, you go to remove creature. You don't choose defeat creature, you choose remove creature. Alright, so now you select function library, you select creature group, you select random creature in creature set, and then you select creature set, you select function again, you select all creature in area. Alright, then you select the region you already choose here. So in this case I will select region 15 again. So remove random creature in creature set, and you select the creature set is all creature in area, and then you select the area you want them you want the trigger to apply it, right? So that is the second action. So that is the second action, and all of the action in this trigger is needed. So if you miss one action, the trigger won't work. Okay, so make sure you have all of the action. Alright, so from this point on, from this point on, it's just like the action I showed you earlier, this one. From this point on, all of the action down here and all of the trigger down here will depend on how many NPC character you have in your map that will give the player some storyline mission. Because I have up to 9 NPC, I have to set up 9 different triggers here, and I have to set up 9 different action here. As you can see, 9 different action here. But if you have only like 2, 3 or 5 NPC, you can set up only 5 action and 5 extra triggers. Okay, so now I will explain to you how this works. So now as you can see up here, let's take example. So I will just take the example of 1 trigger action and 1 extra triggers, so you understand what this is for. And then how many, like, depends on how many NPC character you have in your maps. You will need to create more extra triggers and more action in this trigger. Okay, so first for the action right here, you can see the action here is operate trigger 1 right here. Operate trigger 1 and check the condition. If it's true, then run the action. Alright, so basically the action here is just operate the trigger. So now before you operate the trigger, you have to have the trigger first. So you create another triggers right here. So in this trigger, you don't have an event. You do have a condition, but you don't have an event. So the condition here is when the timer random NPC is the timer variable. I will remind you here. Oh wait, it's the value variable. Sorry, it's the value variable, the random NPC when the random NPC equal to 1. Okay, so what is this 1? So as you remember earlier, you have this random number. So this action right here set the variable to one of these random number between 1 and 9, or between 1 and 5, 1 and 3, whatever it is. So if you only have one NPC, you only have to set up one extra trigger and one action. So in this trigger, in this extra trigger, is the trigger when the random number equal to 1. This trigger will happen. Okay, so like I said, if you have more NPC, you can have more extra trigger. Like when the random number equal to 2, what happened? When random number equal to 3, I mean they are all the same, just different number and different NPC characters. So basically they are the same. Right, so get back to this. We have the condition is the random number equal to 1, and then the trigger can run. So the action of this trigger is create the NPC of the number 1 NPC in the random location in the area. Okay, create one NPC in the random location in the area. Second action is set random NPC as 0. Why do you need this? Because right now the random NPC equal to 1. You want to reset it so that the random number can run again when the triggers go in a rotation like this. So you want to reset the variable back to 0. Alright, and the third action is just display text for all players. Third action is actually depends on if you want it or not, because maybe you don't want it, maybe you do want to have something for the players to experience more. So you see the notification I just got, it say a special guest just appeared. So whenever an NPC appear, you get a text like this. So it's depend on if you want this to happen or not, but I will also show you how to do it. Alright, so basically the whole extra trigger will include 1 is the condition of the random number, and the action will include 3 things: create a random, no, not a random, but create one NPC in a random position in the area, reset the variable of random NPC, and then display text to all players. That's 3 action we need. Alright, so let's just jump right down here and show you how the trigger is set up. So we don't have an event. As I said, you go straight to condition. You want to select the again, you want to select the value, the absolute value right here. You want to choose the random NPC here, or you can just choose the random NPC up here. Alright, so equal to 1. So this is the condition, the only condition we need for the first trigger here. I mean the third trigger in this set. Alright, so the action is create a random, create the NPC in the random position. So then you just go to create creation. You select the NPC you want to appear in this case, which is the random number is 1. You want to make one NPC appear, and then you select in function library, you select random location of area right here, select that, and then you select the area you want them to appear in, region 15 like I said. Then you select the team. This doesn't matter, in the rest of my this doesn't matter, but this is just a choice you can do. Alright, so we have that ready. That's our first action. Second action is reset this variable to 0 so the trigger can happen again. So again, you go to the assign here, and then value setup. You want to select the value, this value again, random NPC, and set it as 0, just 0. Okay, so that is the second action. And now for the last action, you want to make the notification appear for all players when an NPC appears. So you go to player group, display text in float window to player right here is this one right here. The word is actually a bit small. I don't think you guys can see it, but this one right here. Click on it and then you can select player, function library, you see player group, all players, and then you click on the content. You can set up the message you want to appear when an NPC appear in your restaurant. So like I show you earlier, I set this to like special, a special guest has appeared, a special just like this. Oh wait, dang it. Just like that. Alright, so then all the players will get the message when an NPC appear. Alright, so this is basically all the extra trigger is. So let's say you have two NPC. Just example, you have two, you just need to copy this one, you pass it, and then you change the name of it. You fix this to number 2. You fix this, and then you fix the NPC you want to create. You fix this to another NPC, for example this one, just like that, and then you keep everything else the same. So you only change the number and the NPC in the trigger. So basically at this point, it's not hard. You only need to understand what you need to change and what you don't need to change to make extra triggers for this function. Alright, so let's get back to the trigger 2 right here. As I say, we need to add in action equal to the amount of extra trigger we have. So right now we have 2, so we have to add in 2 action for this one. So the action is easy. The action is actually to operate a trigger. So trigger, you go to operate triggers, and you just select the trigger we just create down here. Is tutorial 2 trigger 3. Check the condition is true. It means that it has to check the condition before applying the triggers. So this one change to true. So now the more NPC you have, you just need to copy this again, copy and paste it inside of the trigger set you are doing, which is the tutorial 2. Where is it? Right here. This pass it. Okay, so you just pass it and then you change the triggers. You change to the other triggers. If you have more triggers, you just copy paste and you change it. Make sure you change the name too, because that way you can easily set up a lot of triggers. If you don't change name, you won't be able to look at and like trying to understand which one is which. So even I did change the name of all of the trigger up here just because it was so confusing when I didn't change the name of each. So yeah, so basically now as you can see here, if I have 9 NPC, I will have the random number to 1 from 1 to 9. I have 9 extra triggers which is all the same but just different random number and just different NPC. And then go back to trigger 2 here, you will see I have 9 action more. They are all the same, just operate the different triggers. Okay, so at this point you probably will be wondering like, is it all of the things that we need to operate this trigger? And yes, this is all of the step you need to operate the triggers. You probably will not like know like by now that the triggers has already worked if you have done so far all of the steps I show you. The triggers have already been perfect right now. So when you try it out in your maps and you see it works, then you might like start understand how it works like this and what is going on in triggers, things like that. So make sure you have your note, you test it out in your maps, and yeah, you might as well learn this way quicker than just seeing me do it. Okay, so again, this is the triggers. This one is the most essential one, which start the time variable. You need 2 variable, 1 time variable and 1 value variable for this. And then this second one is also essential because it operates all of the triggers you need for the NPC. So these are the two, and technically all of these extra triggers are all the same to actually operate each random number and summon each random NPC. Okay, so depends on how many NPC you will have more of these extra triggers and more action for trigger 2. So again, this whole trigger set right here is one function, and this function allow you to have to swarm different NPC character when your map start after a certain amount of time. After a certain amount of time. I need to turn this off because I already have one set, and if I run 2 set of trigger, it will be issue. It will be chaos. So yeah, again, the trigger will help you to swarm NPC randomly during the gameplay experience of the players, just like this. So a random customer appear, and when the trigger time is up, they disappear, and a new customer will just appear, just like in a real restaurant. Like people come and go all the time, you have new customer every second. So yeah, this is basically how it works. Where is it? Where is the customer? Okay, there it is. So as you can see, depends on how big your restaurant is, you can actually set up the area to be bigger or smaller. My map is actually quite big, so yeah, the NPC can appear randomly anywhere. Again, this is what the trigger does, and this is what the trigger looks like when you complete it. It should have all of these steps. If you have more NPC, you can add in more extra trigger down here, but you need at least 2 NPC to do this. So like right here I have 2 NPC, so this should be random number from 1 to 2 instead of 1 to 9. Alright, so just keep that in mind. These are all you need for the random NPC triggers. Okay, I think we got through it nice and steady. I mean, I did like tell you in detail what each function, each elements do and what they means, all of those stuff. And if you still don't understand, you still can just look back at your note. You can just try it out yourself, and then to see it actually work, and then figure out why it works like that. Okay,